The mission was meant to be simple enough. Slip into the enemy compound, grab the intel package, and get out before sunrise. But when Lieutenant Commander Ryan Mercer's SEAL element reached the ridge serving as their observation post, they realized instantly that the plan was already falling apart. 7 sniper nests, Mercer murmured into the comms, scanning the target area through his scope, noting the elevated, overlapping arcs of fire that locked down every route in. This isn't normal Overwatch. Someone expected us. His team was stuck 300 meters short of the objective, unable to advance. 7 hostile sharpshooters had turned a routine infiltration into a suicide run, because any attempt to move forward meant stepping into multiple kill zones at once. Phantom 1, this is Grid Eye Command, the controller replied. Can you take out the snipers? Mercer glanced at his men. 8 SEALs, all strong shooters, but they were down in low ground while the enemy enjoyed height and concealment, making engagement impossible without blowing the whole op. Negative, Grid Eye. Too many entrenched shooters, awaiting alternate extract. Then a calm voice, with a faint Texas hint, cut into the channel. Phantom 1, Spectre 3 here. I've got visual on all 7 sniper sites. Give me 12 minutes and your lanes will be wide open. Mercer stiffened. He'd never heard of Spectre 3, and no sniper support had been mentioned in the brief, but command responded instantly. Phantom 1, hold position and let Spectre 3 execute. For the next 12 minutes, Mercer's men witnessed something later dissected in advanced sniper courses. 7 disciplined, entrenched marksmen dropping one after another with such flawless stealth that none of them sensed they were targets until their final breath. Once the last rooftop threat went silent and the compound lay exposed, Mercer keyed up. Spectre 3, Phantom 1, ident yourself. The reply came dry and simple. Just someone who hates seeing good operators stuck. Path's clear. I'll keep Overwatch. What the SEALs didn't realize was that Staff Sergeant Mira Dalton had already been observing that compound for 3 days from a height 1,000 meters out, charting enemy rotations and prepping for her own mission. They were about to learn that the deadliest person on a battlefield is often the one no one notices until it's far too late. Before I walk you through how one sniper dismantled 7 enemy shooters in 12 minutes and opened a door every analyst had labeled impossible, drop a comment with where you're tuning in from and hit subscribe, because this is Captain Joe's Stories, and this mission shows how patience, precision, and mastery can flip the odds. 3 days earlier, Staff Sergeant Mira Dalton had been lying completely still inside her hide for 6 straight hours, the sun finally sinking as she controlled every breath, letting herself blend into the jagged stone around her 1,000 meters from the objective. Most people struggled to sit still for 6 minutes, but Mira had conditioned herself to remain frozen for 6 hours straight, then repeat the process the following day without complaint. At 29, she had 8 years in the Marine Corps as a scout sniper, with the last 4 spent inside a reconnaissance unit that worked in places no official documents ever acknowledged. She was one of only 3 women serving as snipers in that unit, and the lone operator who had passed the Advanced Urban Sniper program with a flawless score. Her assignment sounded simple but demanded absolute precision. Watch the enemy compound, track their routines, flag every high-value individual, and when the moment came, take out the compound's commander to disrupt operations throughout the region. She and her spotter, Corporal Mike Chen, had moved into position 3 days earlier, Chen now sitting 200 meters off to her left in a secondary hide. They'd built 2 sites so that if one fell, the other could cover and protect. Spectre 3, this is Spectre 3 Alpha, Chen murmured in her earpiece. Sun's down. Time for your stretch. Copy, Mira whispered as she began her slow repositioning. Every shift was deliberate, her movements tiny and controlled as she eased from one carefully prepared posture into another that let blood flow return to half-numb limbs while keeping her hidden. Her rifle, a custom M4A6 fitted with a suppressor and night optics, remained fixed on the compound the entire time. Not once did she let her barrel drift off target. Through her scope, the compound stayed sharp, even as daylight faded. It was a hardened stronghold the enemy used as a regional headquarters. Thick walls, guard towers, several structures inside the perimeter. Intel indicated the commander planning deadly strikes across the sector was operating from within. But it wasn't the buildings that drew Mira's focus. It was the sniper sights. 7 elevated hides ringed the compound, and they were anything but amateur work. These weren't random guards. They were skilled shooters with good gear, clean sectors, disciplined rotation cycles, and proper concealment. Someone had trained them properly. "Chen, you picking up these sniper spots?" Mira whispered. "Roger. Counted 7. They've locked every approach with overlapping fire. Nothing gets close." Mira inspected each hide through her optic, committing their layout to memory. The positions were well built, blended with natural cover, and placed to maximize range while exposing almost nothing. It was professional craftsmanship. "These aren't local fighters," she muttered. "These are trained snipers. Someone brought in experts to shield this site." "Makes sense if their commander's inside." "They're not gambling," Chen replied. For the next 2 days, Mira charted everything about those hides, which had the cleanest angles, which rotated more often, marking them as priority posts, which shooters stayed vigilant, and which drifted into complacency. She tracked every shift, every habit, every flaw in their rhythm. She wasn't sure why she was collecting such granular intel on the snipers. Her task was to remove the compound commander, not tangle with the defensive perimeter. But Mira had learned long ago that the wider your understanding of a battlefield, the more choices you had when everything shifted. And things always shifted. On the 3rd night, during her evening observation cycle, Chen's voice broke through with an urgency he almost never showed. "Spectre 3, I've got movement. American operators. Looks like a SEAL element coming in from the North Valley." Mira swung her scope toward the coordinates Chen referenced and felt a cold weight form in her gut. 8 operators in full kit were advancing with solid fieldcraft directly toward the compound and straight into the deadly reach of the sniper kill zones. "Chen, are they on any net we can reach?" "Scanning. Got them. They're running standard JSO TAC frequency. Want me to reach out?" "Negative. Let me listen first." Mira tuned to the channel Chen provided and monitored. The SEALs were conducting final recon, moving toward a vantage point that would give them visual coverage of the compound. She then heard the team leader, Mercer, based on his call sign, call in what he'd spotted. 7 elevated sniper hides with overlapping fire coverage. Mira had been studying those positions for 3 days. She knew their arcs, their dead zones, their rotation cycle, and she knew that if the SEALs pushed forward with those shooters active, the result would be catastrophic. She listened as Mercer reported the mission compromised, resignation creeping into his tone as he recognized his team couldn't advance. Mira shifted her gaze from the 7 sniper hides she'd memorized to the SEAL team pinned in the valley. She made a tactical decision in the span of 3 seconds, then keyed her mic to the SEAL net. "Phantom 1, this is Spectre 3. I have visual on all 7 sniper nests. Give me 12 minutes and your route will be open." A beat of silence. Then Mercer replied, cautious but disciplined. Spectre 3? Identify? Before Mira could answer, command cut in. Phantom 1, stand by and let Spectre 3 execute. Spectre 3, you are cleared for engagement. Make it clean. Mercer acknowledged. Though she could hear the confusion, he likely assumed she was some classified asset, Delta, CIA, or a program with deeper clearance. They had no clue she was a Marine scout sniper who had simply ended up in the right place with 72 hours of reconnaissance on every threat they needed gone. Chen, Mira whispered to her spotter. I'm going to drop all 7. Maintain watch and be ready to back me if this goes wrong. Copy. You want me sending this to our command? Not yet. Let's see if I can actually make this work. Mira settled behind her rifle, her breath slow and even. 7 trained snipers, 12 minutes, distances between 600 and 1100 meters, each one capable of alerting the others the instant something felt off. She would need every ounce of the marksmanship she'd built across 8 years of work. She started with the calculations. 7 shots in 12 minutes. Target order in a multi-engagement scenario isn't guesswork. It's a precise sequence chosen by threat priority, detection probability, and the cascading effects of each kill. She studied them through her optic, her mind running numbers drilled by thousands of training hours. Target 1, Sniper Hide 3, elevation 1450 on the eastern ridge. That shooter had the broadest visual access to the others. Taking him first removed one more set of eyes that could catch muzzle flash or lens glint. Range, 847 meters. Wind, 3 to 5 miles per hour out of the west. Temperature was dropping fast as night settled in, and that shift would play directly into her ballistic calculations. Mira dialed her scope again, correcting for the cooling air, steadied her breathing, and waited for the natural lull between heartbeats. The suppressed M4A6 released a muted exhale rather than a conventional shot, the recoil familiar and almost calming. Through her optic, she tracked the round's flight across the 847 meters, reaching its mark in just over a second. The sniper in position 3 collapsed instantly, never making a sound, never having a chance to warn anyone. Time used, 1 minute. Mira cycled her bolt, smooth, automatic, thoughtless, and brought a fresh round into battery. She didn't acknowledge the kill. She simply transitioned to her next threat. Target 2, position 7 on the western ridge, 923 meters out. That shooter covered the SEAL team's most probable route in, so removing him would clear their approach. The winds on that ridge behaved differently. The compound generated a small microclimate that distorted airflow. Mira had tracked those patterns for 3 days straight and compensated now without hesitation. She fired. Target 2 dropped. Time, 2 minutes, 15 seconds. None of the remaining 5 had reacted. 2 of their own were dead, and they remained oblivious. Target 3, position 5, northern tower, 654 meters, the closest hide to Mira's position, and therefore the riskiest if he caught even a faint glint from her scope. The shorter distance reduced environmental drift, but the tower's elevation gave him a superior angle. Mira corrected for the upward shot and took it. The sniper toppled forward over his weapon, looking for all the world as though he'd nodded off on post. Time, 3 minutes, 45 seconds. Target 4, position 2 on the southern ridge, at 1,089 meters. That was approaching the edge of her rifle's effective range under current conditions, and this shooter was the sharpest of the bunch. Alert, disciplined, and difficult to eliminate without raising suspicion. A subtle breeze shift brushed her cheek before her instruments registered it. She readjusted her hold, accounted for the extended distance, and fired again. She watched the round arc across the kilometer of space, drop in the final stretch, and land precisely where she intended. The sniper sagged sideways, his rifle sliding free. Time, 5 minutes, 30 seconds. 3 targets remained, and none of them realized anything was wrong. Target 5. Position 6 on the eastern approach, 789 meters out. That shooter had the clearest angle on the compound's main gate. Removing him would free the SEAL's primary infiltration corridor. But Position 6 had been built differently from the others, more enclosed, better hidden, so Mira had only a narrow view of the sniper's head and shoulders, a much smaller window to exploit. She waited, unhurried, watching the hide through her optic until the shooter shifted, adjusting his stance and exposing his full profile for a brief 3-second span. Mira fired. Target 5 never sensed the shot that killed him. Time, 7 minutes, 20 seconds. 2 positions remained, Positions 1 and 4, both covering the northern approach. Target 6, Position 1, 712 meters. That shooter faced away from Mira's hide, watching the same valley where the SEAL team waited, giving her a clean angle but also making him the one most likely to spot the SEALs if they moved too soon. Mira shot without hesitation. Target 6 pitched forward, his rifle clattering off the ledge and dropping nearly 10 feet below. Time, 9 minutes, 10 seconds, 1 final target. Target 7. Position 4, 968 meters, elevated and tucked behind hardened sandbags. The toughest shot she'd left for last, not because of confidence, but because this was the hide she'd seen rotate unpredictably. If she had needed to abort, this one could have waited. But 9 minutes in with 0 detection meant it was time to finish. The sniper in Position 4 was skilled, very skilled. His discipline was excellent, his movements minimal, and he used the shadowed cover to his advantage. Mira tracked him through her scope, searching for her opening. His head barely rose above the sandbags, the darkness complicating her range estimates. She waited 1 minute, then a second. Time, 11 minutes. Then he shifted subtly, adjusting his optic, exposing head and upper chest for a fleeting 3-second gap. Mira squeezed the trigger. The suppressed rifle exhaled its last round, and across 968 meters, the bullet sliced through the night with surgical precision. Target 7 fell back into his hide and vanished behind the sandbags. Time, 11 minutes, 47 seconds, 7 hostile. Snipers eliminated, 7 flawless shots, all wiped out in under 12 minutes without a single alert raised. Mira cycled the bolt once more, chambering fresh ammo, then keyed her mic on the SEAL frequency. Phantom 1, Spectre 3, all sniper sites neutralized. You're clear to move. I'll hold overwatch. Down in the valley, Mercer had been observing what he could. He couldn't see Spectre 3's hide or most of the enemy nests, but he saw the aftermath. Snipers stopped scanning, stopped shifting, stopped being threats. Phantom 1 copies, he replied, awe threaded into his otherwise professional tone. That's the most impressive long gun work I've witnessed. Spectre 3, location? Elevated hide northwest of you. I'll stay silent and unseen. You handle your part. I'll handle mine. Mercer glanced at his men. 8 SEALs who had just watched an unseen ally dismantle 7 entrenched snipers faster than they could plan a single assault. All right, team, he said. Path's open. Don't waste what Spectre 3 just bought us. Quiet infiltration, standard entry. We snatch the package and leave before anyone realizes we were here. The SEAL element pushed forward with sharp precision, using the corridor Mira had opened by eliminating Position 6. They crossed the valley in 4 minutes, reached the compound wall, and began their breach. From her hide, Mira tracked them through her scope, covering arcs of possible danger. The sniper threat was gone, but guards, patrols, and rapid response units were still inside. Spectre 3, Phantom 1, at inner wall moving on the vault. Copy. 2 guards behind you inside the compound. They haven't seen you yet, but they're heading your way. You want them dropped? Mira sighted in on the guards. Range, 15 meters, partially shielded behind the interior wall. She had a tiny gap to shoot through. I can hit them, but the compound will light up. How close to the package? 30 seconds. Then you move. I'll wait for you to secure it before I buy your exit. She watched the SEALs work. They were excellent. Within 20 seconds, they breached the vault, and Mercer came back over comms. Package secured. Moving to extract. And that was when the operation unraveled. An enemy patrol stumbled across the breach point. Alarms blared. Floodlights burst to life. Fighters poured from barracks with weapons ready. Phantom 1, we're blown, Mercer reported, steady even through the chaos Mira overheard. Engaging and shifting to alternate exfil. Mira tracked them as the SEALs crashed into close-quarters fighting, heavily outnumbered, 10-1 at least, as the compound erupted into a full combat zone. Chen, Mira called to her spotter. I'm providing overwatch for their exfil. Mark targets, Mira said. Copy. Jesus. I'm seeing at least 40 hostiles converging on them, Chen answered. 40 enemies, 8 SEALs, and 1 sniper a kilometer out who could start balancing the equation. Mira settled behind her rifle and got to work. The enemy troops were flooding toward the SEALs from multiple sides, standard counter-raid movement, but most were crossing open ground she had unobstructed lines on. Her first shot went to an officer shouting directions. At 934 meters, Mira put a round through his chest, throwing the enemy's coordination into chaos. She cycled her bolt, found a machine gunner preparing to lay fire on the SEALs at 1,087 meters, and dropped him before his weapon barked once. Spectre 3, Phantom 1, we're taking heavy fire from the east courtyard, Mercer reported. Mira shifted to the courtyard and located 6 fighters firing from partial cover. She dispatched them methodically, fire, bolt, fire, 4 down in under 20 seconds. The remaining 2 realized an external shooter was picking them apart and sprinted for cover. Mira tracked the first mid-run and hit him. The last one reached concealment, but when he leaned out to shoot the SEALs, she had a 2-second opening and used it. Chen, feed me targets. Priority on heavy weapons or anyone directing movement. Roger, RPG team on the north wall, prepping to fire at the SEALs' exfil vehicles. Mira found the team through her optic. 2 fighters with a rocket system that could annihilate the SEALs' extraction. She shot the gunner at 896 meters, then the loader, who spun in panic trying to locate her. The rocket clattered harmlessly to the ground. Phantom 1, Spectre 3, your exfil lane is clear of heavy weapons. Maybe 20 hostiles left, but they're disorganized and taking hits. Copy, Spectre 3. Moving now, and you just saved our asses again, Mercer replied. Mira continued laying overwatch as the SEALs fought toward extraction, breaking every attempt the enemy made to reorganize by eliminating whoever tried to lead them. Any fighter carrying a heavy system never got off a shot. She was burning ammo far faster than intended. Her loadout was built for precision, not prolonged suppressive engagement. But she wasn't about to let the SEALs get buried after they'd risked everything for their mission. Spectre 3, Phantom 1, we're at exfil, aircraft inbound, we're clear. Copy. Get out. I'll cover you until wheels up. Negative, Spectre 3. You're coming with us. Send coordinates for pickup. Mira glanced at the hide she'd spent 3 days constructing and at Chen's alternate site 200 meters away. Negative, Phantom 1. I have my own exfil. If I break concealment now, every fighter out there will know exactly where I've been firing from. Better I stay invisible. Get your people out, Commander. That's an order from someone who technically outranks field ops. Go. She could hear Mercer's frustration, but also his acceptance as the helicopters arrived. Rotor, beats reaching even her far-off hide. The SEALs boarded. The mission was done. Spectre 3, when we're back, I'm finding out who you are and buying you a very expensive drink. I'll remember that. Phantom 1, safe flight. Spectre 3 going dark. Mira watched the aircraft lift off, bank hard, and vanish into the night toward friendly lines. Then she turned her gaze back to the compound. Now fully awake, lights blazing, fighters searching desperately for a sniper they would never locate. Chen, we're holding another 24 hours. Let them search. Let them guess. When they stop, we move. Copy. And that was incredible shooting. 7 snipers, then Overwatch. I counted 19 more KIA from your hide. Just the job. Now let's stay unseen and live to do it again. 2 days later, Mira and Chen returned to their forward base. Filthy, exhausted, alive. They had maintained their hides for 30 hours after the SEAL extraction, watching the enemy scour the terrain for a ghost that left no trace. Once the search ended and the compound calmed, Mira and Chen exfiltrated along a pre-planned route through terrain the enemy couldn't cover, reaching a pickup point 12 kilometers from their hide. Staff Sergeant Dalton, Corporal Chen, welcome back, Major Sarah Hendrick said as they entered the ops center. I hear your last few days were eventful. Yes, ma'am, Mira answered, settling in for a long debrief. Primary mission complete. Documented command patterns, identified high-value targets. Then we got involved in someone else's op. Got involved? Hendrick raised a brow, pulling up a report. According to SEAL Team 7's after-action summary, Spectre 3, that's you, eliminated 7 snipers in 12 minutes, and then provided overwatch that neutralized another 19 hostiles, directly enabling mission success when they were minutes from aborting due to overwhelming defenses. We had the vantage point and the intel. Felt wrong to let it go to waste, Mira said. Hendrick studied her with the look of a commander torn between praising initiative and reprimanding someone for stepping well outside mission boundaries. Staff Sergeant, you independently chose to engage 26 hostile combatants, expose your position, and directly assist a classified SEAL operation you were neither briefed on nor cleared to support. Mira met her commander's gaze without flinching. Yes, ma'am. That's correct. And by doing so, Hendrick continued, you enabled a SEAL element to extract critical intelligence that's already driven 3 successful strikes on enemy leadership. Intel that would have been lost if the team had aborted. Yes, ma'am. Hendrick paused, then allowed a small smile. Exceptional work, Staff Sergeant. Exactly the initiative we expect from our scout snipers. Their team commander specifically asked to thank you in person, and SOCOM is putting you in for a commendation. Thank you, ma'am. But Chen deserves equal credit. His spotting and security were flawless. Already written into the report. You're both getting recognized. 3 days later, Mira was summoned to an unexpected meeting. Inside a secure briefing room sat Lieutenant Commander Ryan Mercer and 3 members of his SEAL team. Staff Sergeant Dalton, Mercer said, rising to shake her hand. Phantom 1, also known as the guy whose ass you saved twice in one night. Commander, glad to see you made it back. Thanks to you. I've been in this game 12 years, and I've worked with some of the finest snipers alive. What you pulled off, 7 targets in 12 minutes, then sustained overwatch past 1,000 meters. That's the most impressive shooting I've ever witnessed. Just did my job, sir. No, Mercer countered. That was you recognizing a tactical collapse, solving it with perfect precision, and then supporting us far beyond what anyone could have expected. The intel we pulled has already saved American lives. You made that possible. One of the SEALs, Chief Marcus Webb, added, "Ma'am, we thought you were some classified Delta asset or deep cover operator. Finding out you're a Marine sniper who was simply in the right place with the right skill set? That's even more impressive." Mira allowed a small smile. Sometimes being in the right place at the right time is most of the job. "No, ma'am," Mercer said. "Having the ability and the guts to act in that moment. That's the job, and you nailed it." 6 months later, the ceremony was small and classified. The mission could never be public, but the valor could still be honored. Mira stood at attention as Major General Robert Cartwright pinned the Silver Star to her uniform, the nation's 3rd highest award for combat heroism. Staff Sergeant Dalton's actions directly enabled a critical intelligence operation and saved 8 American Special Operations personnel, the citation read. Through extraordinary marksmanship and decisive judgment, she eliminated 26 enemy combatants at ranges exceeding 1,000 meters while under indirect fire. Her conduct reflects the highest standards of military service. When the general departed, Mercer approached her again. "You know," he said, "SEAL Team 7 has an opening. Liaison for Marine Scout Snipers. Someone who understands long gun work and joint ops. Someone who's proven under pressure. Interested?" Mira considered it. The role meant tougher missions, more joint work, more operations with teams like his. "Will it involve more situations where I'm 1,000 meters out dropping threats while SEALs kick in doors?" Mercer grinned. "Absolutely." "Then yes, sir. I'm interested." "Outstanding. Welcome aboard, Spectre 3. I've got a feeling we'll work well together." 2 years later, the T1 legend had taken root. The story of Spectre 3 spread through sniper schools, SEAL briefings, and the wider special operations community, told as one of those rare missions where the impossible became real. 7 enemy snipers erased in 12 minutes, none aware they were being hunted. Sustained overwatch that turned a doomed mission into a clean intelligence victory. Mira Dalton, now Gunnery Sergeant Dalton after a rapid promotion, continued operating in joint special operations, supporting 15 major missions and providing sniper coverage for SEAL teams, Delta Force, and CIA Special Activities units. Her official kill count remained classified, though anyone who had worked beside her understood it was significant. What mattered more was that having her on a mission meant friendly forces enjoyed overwatch from someone capable of making shots that shouldn't be possible and solving tactical problems no one else could touch. Mira never allowed the legend to define her. She kept her focus on fundamentals, precision, patience, repetition. She trained relentlessly, mentored younger snipers, and approached every assignment with the same meticulous preparation that had shaped her success. "You know the real secret?" she told a group of Scout sniper students during a guest lecture. "It's not about pulling off impossible shots. It's about preparing so thoroughly that impossible shots turn into the expected outcome. It's about knowing your environment better than anyone else, staying patient when everything pushes you to rush, and acting decisively when everyone else hesitates." She nodded toward them. Those 7 snipers I dropped, the ones everyone asks about, that wasn't luck or some miracle skill. It came from 72 hours of observing, recording, and preparing. When it was time to act, I already had every angle, every range, every variable etched into my mind. I'd been rehearsing the engagement without knowing it. A student lifted his hand. "Gunnery Sergeant, how do you stay calm in a situation like that? 7 targets, 12 minutes, SEALs counting on you?" Mira considered it. "You stay calm by trusting the work you've already done, by knowing you prepared for that moment long before it arrived. You focus on the process instead of the outcome." I wasn't thinking about all 7 targets. I thought about one, then the next, then the next. One round at a time, one problem at a time. And honestly, I was terrified. My hands shook right before the first shot, but I'd trained through fear so many times that it didn't change the result. Fear is information. It tells you the stakes are high. But it doesn't get to dictate what you do. The students took this in. The idea that even the snipers people whisper about feel fear, pressure, doubt. The difference lies in how you respond. Present day, now operating as Master Sergeant Mira Dalton, she peered through her scope at a compound 800 meters out. Different country, different op, same core task. Precision fire in support of operators who depended on her unseen presence. Beside her, her new spotter, Corporal Lisa Martinez, ran wind and range data. "Winds picking up, 3 to 5 from the west, gusting," Martinez reported. "Good catch. Adjust holds accordingly," Mira replied. They had occupied their hide for 2 days, studying enemy movement and preparing for the mission scheduled for that night. And just as she had 2 years earlier, Mira knew that when the moment to act arrived, she would be ready, because that was her way. Not the legend Spectre 3 whispered about in stories, but Mira Dalton, a Marine Scout sniper who trusted preparation, precision, and the responsibility she carried for those who relied on her. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to hear more powerful stories of brave women in uniform.